What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to bring you guys the last video of this draft week. We've gone over no salad drafts yesterday, the template draft, the freemium draft, as well as the big at the back draft. So if you guys not check those videos out, I recommend that you do. But in this video, I'm going to give you guys my own personal team's updated draft. I'm going to show you guys what I'm currently working with. Now, I actually have waited for the Liverpool preseason game against RB Leipzig to conclude, as I wanted to give you guys the most up-to-date news as possible. And obviously with Liverpool, we're probably going to own a triple up of their players. So as we go over those Liverpool players, I'll be giving you guys some updates as well as updates on other players' preseason form. But if you have any questions about a player that I don't mention, drop it in the comments down below and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. As I always say, also comment down below your guys' updated drafts. On the Discord channel, we've had some massive discussions about your guys' teams. We also had those Sunday draft review videos that I'll probably continue up until that Game Week 1 deadline. But going back to this video, we're going to be going over my updated draft. So if you want to see that, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So first things first, talking about the Discord channel in my introduction. We have actually launched a new Discord channel at the start of this preseason. If you guys are not on it, I would recommend that you guys do. If it's just for kind of questions for myself, it's a little bit easier to reply to you guys on Discord versus kind of YouTube comments and Twitter replies and that sort of thing. And people also test in the comments down below. If they've had a question, I usually get back to them. I can't necessarily get back to all of them, but most questions I generally do answer. And we do also have a thoughts channel where your guys' drafts are getting reviewed. So I've been loving the banter and also the kind of comments of you guys on Discord, so hopefully this community can absolutely expand. Coming up on the Discord channel though, I'm hoping to do some live Q&As on the voice chats and the text chats where you guys can simply ask me questions and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. We then have the member channels where I do think it's going to be kind of the gold mine of this Discord channel. We have launched 3 new tiers, a supporter, member, and also a legend. If you guys do want to join my YouTube channel, become a member, that is always appreciated and that'll give you some more perks. Those perks can be one-on-one chats about your guys' teams, about my teams, if you guys have any questions, as well as my team reveals throughout the season. But I know that you guys are getting a little bit sick of me talking about this Discord channel, but just join it then, because then I don't have to mention it if we do get more people in. But now going on to the actual Game Week 1 draft, or at least my updated draft, and as you guys can see on screen, I've stuck with the 4-4-2 formation. However, I've done some changes in terms of my value in midfield, and I've actually upgraded the defense quite considerably. Now in terms of the balance of the bank, we've got 0.0 in the bank, so I've just been able to afford this, but there has been some discussion about kind of keeping value in your bank if you want to make some upgrades. But right now on this team, I think I can see some downgrades and not too many upgrades, to be honest. My bench will definitely not be downgraded because it's cheap as chips. I've gone for the cheapest bench as possible. As I kind of said throughout the video, the 4.0 goalkeeper, not going to put too much attention on that one because there's no kind of 4.0 right now that actually plays for the respective club. So come that Game Week 1 deadline, I'll probably just random generated, or I'll just choose one of the newly promoted 4.0 goalkeepers. But going on to the next 3 players, and kind of Andreas Pereira and Neco Williams are super integral to anyone's kind of teams. Neco Williams is the standard 4.0 option. I know right now we do have Patterson from Everton, but I just think the Neco Williams for the entire season will be worth it at his 4.0 price tag. Andreas Pereira, my favorite 4.5 option, currently playing as an attacking midfielder in that Fulham team during preseason, so hopefully that does continue into Game Week 1. Now going on to our 4.5 forward, and I've actually changed from Dwight Gale because he doesn't play at all. I've actually changed to Archer from Aston Villa because he has had a pretty good preseason. I know it is preseason, very early in the preseason as well, but I just think at his ownership, fairly low owned, and it seems like Stevie G might give him some chances throughout the season. Now another popular option is going to be the Nottingham Forest 4.5. He's actually also had a pretty good preseason, scoring a few goals, but his ownership is slightly higher than Archer, but not as high as Greenwood at about 20%. Now, if you guys did watch my template video, I reminded you that you shouldn't necessarily own a highly owned 4.5 kind of forward because they're going to be on your bench most game weeks, and if players do choose to sell him, you might actually lose price on him. So that's why I've changed to Archer. I think he's owned by about 3% of people, might have a chance of coming off the bench under Stevie G, so that's worth it at that price tag. But hopefully most of these bench options will stay on my bench, and throughout my starting 11, I've kind of gone for secured options, and that's where things have actually changed from my last draft. So what I'm going to be going through is I'm not going to go kind of from defender to forward, player by player. I'm actually going to give you guys my mainstays or my kind of more integral, essential players in my draft, and then we'll be covering some gaps later on. But it just so happens that we'll be going through the full defense because, as I said, I've upgraded my defense to be pretty strong, and that's why most of these premiums are going to find their way into my team. So starting off in goal, I've actually gone for Edison at 5.5. Now between Edison and Alisson, I don't think there's too much between them, but I do favor Robertson from that defensive position, and that's why Edison for me at 5.5. A nailed Man City defender. Yes, we could have Cucurella. They have submitted a bid, but it was rejected. But I do expect Cucurella to come into that side, but who kind of knows what's going to happen with him and Walker. So at 5.5, great asset for me. I'm going to probably keep him for the majority of the season, or at least up to my first wildcard about game week 8, game week 9, wherever we do choose to use it. And it just so happens that Man City's fixtures for the opening couple look absolutely superb. But obviously this is probably the easiest place to find value if you guys want to upgrade another department. A 4.5 goalkeeper is 100% fine, but I actually do really like Edison, and a lot of the projected points metrics are really favoring a premium goalkeeper. So completing this more kind of big at the back, this is kind of a poor man's big at the back because I've got a back 4 instead of a back 5, but the players still don't dip in quality. The first player is going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold, and no explanation has to be said about him. Great asset to own, actually got an assist last night for one of the Darwin Núñez goals, and his position was just so forward. So Trent's a mainstay, been in every single one of my drafts, and definitely is my essential defender to own, and in my opinion, his colleague Robertson is as well. So you guys know that I do prefer the double up in defense versus the double up in attack. I just feel like Robertson at 1.0 million cheaper than Diaz is worth it in my opinion, and I really do think that Robertson's going to have a great season. My only concern right now is that there might be some rotation with Tsimikas throughout the season, but I do think at the start we should be fine as the games are quite spaced out. But you guys can let me know in the comments down below if you guys agree or disagree with me. I do favor Robertson as a Liverpool fan. I just feel like Diaz has to work on his finishing, whereas Robertson always tends to get 1 or 2 assists. Carrying on with these fullback positions, you guys know I love a fullback in FPL. It's going to be Cancelo from Man City at 7.0 million. So I've actually seen a couple of people downgrading Cancelo to a cheaper option. I think Laporte right now is going to be injured for the start of the season, so Diaz looks quite strong and maybe a John Stones, but I think Cancelo's worth it. The more attacking threat there, if Haaland does start the majority of games, just imagine those Cancelo crosses into him. That's going to be absolute FPL gold. So yes, we are paying a more expensive price, but I do like the double up from Liverpool and Man City as they have the best fixtures and they definitely are the best teams in the Prem. Another team that's not too shabby at defending is going to be Chelsea, and that's why Reece James is my defender of choice. Between Chilwell and James, I currently think this is about a 60-40 favor of James just because of those concerns about Chilwell's fitness, and right now Marcos Alonso looks to be staying at Chelsea. Azpilicueta rumored to be moving to Barcelona, who knows if that will happen, but I do think that Reece James is the favoured right wing back, and yes, Chilwell is the favoured left wing back, but with Cancelo in the wings, we might see some rotation there. So now you guys can kind of understand why I've gone for the kind of poor man's big at the back 4, but with the stacked goalkeeper as well. This looks absolutely sensational to me, and I'm pretty sure you guys can agree. Now the reason I've actually gone for this big at the back 4 is just because if you look at all these options, they are nailed for their respective teams. Yes, Cancelo and James might miss one game in a blue moon, that sort of thing, but I do think all 5 of these players should be starting every game, and with their price points being so cheap, I just can't ignore them. But now let's go on to the other essential options that made up my draft. So going up to the midfield and then the 4 departments, kind of creating the skeleton of our draft, it's going to be none other than Mo Salah, and he also scored against Leipzig a couple of hours ago. So I know 13.0 million is quite expensive. If you guys watched my video yesterday, the no Salah draft, I just don't think I'll be going without no Salah. I'm definitely hashtag Mo Salah, and that's why I think the Egyptian's going to be my team, definitely going into game week 1. There has been a little bit of an interesting turn of events with De Bruyne scoring 2 goals and Haaland being on the bench. I think most people actually might shift to going for De Bruyne, but Guardiola came out last night and said that Haaland should be fit for the Bayern game on Sunday. But that doesn't affect Salah because he'll be in my team whether I have De Bruyne or Haaland or Kane, that sort of thing. Salah's always going to be the mainstay and my central option. Now going into our 4 department, and I'm going to present to you the number 1 highest owned player in FPL at the current moment. It's going to be none other than Gabriel Jesus from Arsenal. So if you guys told me that Gabriel Jesus was going to be the highest owned player in FPL going into Game Week 1, I probably would have said that you're on an absolute madness, but no, that's actually happened. But I've always had him, and I do actually think he's the best Arsenal attacker to get. So yes, Saka, he could be on penalties, that sort of thing, but I just think the centre forward for Arsenal will get a lot of goals this season, and that's why I've included the Brazilian in my front line. If you guys don't own Gabriel Jesus, you're going to hope that he does blank, because with 60+% ownership, if he bangs and you don't have him, that's going to be a massive red arrow. But I'm not trying to scare you on that front, I'm just kind of advising you because I do believe he's the best asset from Arsenal to have, and that's why I do recommend him. And now we're going to go into the next big decision. I've spoken about De Bruyne, but I'm also going to be going for a centre forward. I want that flexibility, so if I go for Haaland or Kane, it's going to be one or the other. And with Kevin De Bruyne, I will kind of see how the season plays out, and if I have to use an early wildcard, I will. But right now, to start off the season, I'll be going for one of the big strikers. But between Haaland and Kane, it's quite close at the moment. I think Kane kind of edges it just because we haven't seen Haaland in any kind of preseason. But let's just say he starts against Bayern, looks pretty strong. I think most people kind of gravitate to him. Because that's the thing, I do want Haaland from game week 2 onwards, so it might make more sense to include him from the beginning than having Harry Kane in game week 1 and not captaining him. But saying that though, right now I do own Harry Kane. I just think the preseason form looks quite strong. Haaland might have some rotation. There's been some kind of articles explaining that he actually joined Man City because they wouldn't rush him back from these injuries, and his playing time might be limited because he is a little bit fragile. Whereas Harry Kane, if he has a broken leg, I'm pretty sure I'll see him on the pitch, and he usually is quite consistent at the start of the season. But this is one of those moments that you guys can rotate if you want Haaland 100%, but this is going to be a flexible position, and that's why I want to go for one of the big strikers. But I know what you're probably thinking, how did I afford this draft? Well, that's going to be the final 3 midfielder slots. I've gone for a big forward, a big midfielder, and a pretty stacked defense. So in order to afford that, I've gone kind of budget with my last 3 midfielders. Now you guys might be asking me why. I just believe at that 8.0 mark, I prefer a cheaper kind of defender that is nailed to start, get you attacking and defensive returns, over an 8.5 like a Morris that might not even play. So the 3 options I've gone for aren't necessarily nailed. Most of them should be, but there is some flexibility there on that nailedness because they are cheaper, so therefore the risk isn't as high as an 8.0. So the first more budget midfielder that we're going to be going for is going to be Bruno G from Newcastle. Now he definitely isn't kind of my first choice midfielder, but I almost would consider him the third out of these next 3, as I just don't know what position he's going to play in that Newcastle lineup. There's been rumors of a potential attacking midfielder that will sign for them, but also some rumors about a forward or a winger, and I do believe that the forward or the winger will help him a little bit more just because he's nailed in that attacking midfielder slot. So let's just see how Newcastle with their big budget plays out in this transfer window, but if push comes to shove, we can always take him out, maybe downgrade him and upgrade another department. I just think that Newcastle's opening 2 look quite strong, and then we'll shift them on depending on what kind of teams are rotating, that sort of thing. So it gives us a little bit of a window to go for, but I would also like to keep him if Newcastle have great fixtures. Now the next option is more of a template option here. It's going to be Pedro Neto after a goal and an assist in Wolves' game yesterday. I do believe he's still a great option, and I think he's proving his weight in gold at 5.5. Now there also have been some quotes about him saying that he wants to kind of stay fit, have a great season, but unfortunately his fitness isn't something that he can kind of control, and I just hope that he doesn't get injured anytime soon. The nice thing about Pedro Neto and Wolves as a whole is that the fixtures look great for the opening couple games, and that's why I think it's worth going for him at 5.5. Now going on to the final midfielder of this video, and you've probably seen him on the thumbnail, it's going to be Martinelli from Arsenal. Now there has been some speculation about Smith Rowe. Apparently he is struggling with a little bit of an injury, and therefore Martinelli should be nailed for the start of the season. This obviously does also depend on how Arteta sets up his starting 11. Maybe if he goes for a 4-4-2, maybe a 4-3-3, we might see Martinelli shifted around, but I do expect him to start this season quite well. At 6.0 million, as with the others, not too much risk there if he isn't as nailed as we do think, and with the 5 subs, I always will expect him to come off the bench, especially if Arsenal need a goal. Now the Brazilian always impresses me when he does play, and that's why I've included him in this draft. Yes, we have gone for a double up in that Arsenal attack, we just have to hope that they do start the season quite hot. But overall guys, as you can see on screen, this is going to be my current updated draft. I actually do really like it. I think we're getting closer to that game week 1 deadline and closer to locking this draft in. I just think the stacked defense is the way to go this season with the cheaper price points, and with those budget midfielders, not too much risk there, but some great potential returns. We also then have all the high ownership players. We are taking a punt on Kane over Haaland, but that could all change come game week 1 if Haaland does look quite strong in preseason. But as always, let me know in the comments down below what you guys do think. Do you think this draft looks absolutely hideous? Do you think this draft looks quite strong? What would you change? And what's your current draft looking like? But this is basically up the video guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like it if you did and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. We'll hopefully doing another draft review on Sunday. Otherwise, massive content coming up next week. So make sure you turn that bell notification on. But I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.